had the mindset that even if I did this for a year and never made a single dollar off of it, it would have been worth it because of the skills that I learned through the process.
YouTube for Realtors is one of the most powerful lead generation opportunities right now. But one of the biggest problems is that so many people overcomplicate what it takes to create video content that actually generates leads. But that is going to stop today. I bring on Forrest McCullough, who, as a new agent, just 10 months in, is closing deals on a consistent basis from his community tours. Everybody else is focused on the property tours, but this agent is absolutely dominating just using his iPhone and the selfie stick with different styles of content. So today he breaks down his entire content process, start to finish, everything that he's done, the exact videos that have led to closed deals, and what you can do to get started today in order to start generating leads yourself as well from YouTube. So before we get started, two quick things. Number one, I'm going to link Forrest's incredible channel below so that you can check it out and use it as a reference point for your own content. And number two, I will link his calendar link below, because if you've seen any of my other videos, him and Suman Kim are partners and are absolutely crushing it with helping agents like yourself go from just getting started to also closing deals every month. So if you would like to chat with them, you can click the link in the calendar below. So without further ado, let's bring on Forrest and talk about how to take massive action today, remove all excuses, and get straight to the path of closing deals from YouTube. What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another exciting video where today we've got a very special guest who's going to be diving into all things YouTube and some really important things that you need to be mindful of that not many people are talking about when it comes to the journey of actually generating leads and booking closed deals from your YouTube channel. So today we've got on Forrest McCullough, where I'm really excited to kind of unpack your journey that I think is going to be really relatable to a lot of people. So Forrest, what's going on, man?
Hey, Mike, great to be here. Thanks for having me.
Of course. It's been incredible to see your success and the momentum that you've been building, but very true to many people's journeys, it wasn't always that way. So I'd love to kind of start and maybe unpack a bit about your story in terms of getting into the industry, what led you up to this point, and then we can start diving into the more tactical strategies that you're implementing.
Yeah, for sure. So you want me to go kind of all the way back before I was in the industry? What kind of got me interested in it?
Yeah, a couple quick minutes just to dive in.
So I think, when I was in college, I was in pre-med, applied to medical school, was on the wait list for that, read a book called Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And I think for a lot of people that read that book, it kind of, if you have that entrepreneurial mindset a little bit, it kind of clicks. So when I read that book, like I said, I was on the wait list to get into med school, and I kind of just started to think about things differently. And I started to have a desire to be an entrepreneur and run a business one day. And so obviously that kind of changed the trajectory of my life from there. One of the things he talked about in that book was the importance of some sales experience. So I did door-to-door sales for a couple of years. And from there, I actually went and worked in construction for a couple of years. And that was my father-in-law's construction company. So I kind of had an interest in that business model as well. But, over those couple of years, I kind of realized that particular business was not for me. Got my real estate license during that time and kind of transitioned from the construction world, was working part-time in real estate, kind of doing cold calls and stuff like that. Went full-time in real estate, came across actually your channel, and that really started to open my mind up to content, YouTube, and how that could kind of align with my overall goal. Originally was learning how to be an entrepreneur, learning how to run a business. And so I started to see how real estate could really align with that and how I could use that to learn how to be an entrepreneur. So that's kind of where I am now.
That's awesome, man. And it's really cool to see that, you've now leaned into YouTube, because I had a very similar story about being an engineer, reading Rich Dad, Poor Dad, consuming other people's YouTube content, and then deciding to leverage it for myself. So let's kind of unpack that and kind of start with the foundational aspect of why did you choose to start to lean into YouTube and create your own channel?
Yeah. So, I came across your YouTube channel is actually where I learned kind of about the sales side of real estate as far as door knocking. I mentioned I did door-to-door sales for a couple of years selling Spectrum, cable TV, and internet. And so I had gotten to the point where I had my real estate license. I was wanting to learn this business. And I came across a video that you had done about door knocking and how much success you'd have from door knocking. And I was kind of in the period of, I couldn't quite figure out, I knew that the majority of people that started in real estate failed out of the industry within, a year or whatever. And I was trying to figure out, how do I not be that person? And I came across that video, and I realized it's something I already knew. I knew how to door knock. I knew how to sell that way. So I was like, all right, I know this. I'm going to go all in. I think I can make it work. Of course, after coming across your channel through that, I started watching your other videos, learning about content, seeing, videos with people like Sue and Kim, who's my sponsor. But I started to realize, I can create a successful business, knocking doors, cold calling, but that's a skill that I kind of already learned a little bit, and I wanted to learn something different. And I started to understand the importance of having content that would allow people to find you, to trust you, to know what you're about. And so I realized that it kind of aligned. I wanted to learn how to run a business. I didn't want to just be doing transactions for the rest of my life. And so I saw that aligned with it. It was a skill. If I could learn how to create content, learn how to attract business, that was a skill that was going to translate into either growing a larger real estate business rather than just being a single agent for my whole life, or potentially even translating into whatever else I wanted to do. So that's why I went 100% in on YouTube, because I saw that it aligned with what I was trying to do overall.
Yeah, I love that. There's a couple things to unpack there, and I had a very similar mindset, which is that, if you build a strong personal brand, it doesn't matter which industry you go in or what opportunity you want to capitalize on, you always have an unfair competitive advantage over everybody else.
Yeah.
And, the second aspect is YouTube, as you've seen, creates massive leverage. And I think so many agents struggle to scale their business because they're doing things that are, a one-to-one relationship based on time in, time out is equal versus, being able to put out content that's essentially door knocking for you 24/7, 365. That allows you to start to build massive momentum, especially after, doing what you've done, which is creating a really strong catalog and library of content that will continue to scale. So, you've got a really relatable and great mindset when it comes to setting proper goals and understanding the journey of YouTube. Because I think a lot of people will see maybe somebody like myself or you or Suman and just say, okay, one video, I'm going to put it out and hope to God I get leads. And if it doesn't, then, maybe YouTube's not for me. But do you want to kind of unpack the mindset that you needed to have going into it with setting a proper goal, and then also what that journey looked like for you in terms of when you actually started to generate leads from your content?
Yeah. So I had the mindset that if I did it the right way, it would work and it would generate business for me. But at the same time, I also had the mindset that even if I did this for a year and never made a single dollar off of it, it would have been worth it because of the skills that I learned through the process, learning how to communicate better, learning how to put a video together. And so I went through, your training, and what I specifically dove into was doing home tours, which is what my sponsor was doing. And what I came to find out was different things work in different markets. And I came to realize that his market was very different than what my market is. And rather than saying, well, YouTube's not gonna work in my market, since I had this goal, I was like, YouTube is such a valuable thing to learn. How do I make it work for my market? So I started kind of transitioning what I was doing, went away from doing the home tours, and went towards making vlog style videos of communities and the towns and the cities and the suburbs. And I went through a 8-month period of doing 0 transactions. So I didn't do 0 transactions. I actually closed 3 or 4 during that time from when I had been cold calling and door knocking before. But I went through an 8-month period, started YouTube, and it was 8 months before I actually closed a deal from YouTube. And actually that last 5 months, I didn't close a single deal because I closed a couple more from door knocking, and then 5 months, no deals at all. And I mean, that's kind of discouraging. You know what I mean? So having that bigger goal of, hey, I really do believe that this is going to work, but also, even if it doesn't, man, I'm learning some really valuable skills.
Yeah, I think that's important. I'd love for you to just kind of add to that in terms of, making the goal big enough, making it worth the sacrifice. And you've kind of talked about that, but do you want to kind of unpack what that means? Because a lot of people have these big goals, but they don't associate any repercussions with it, or what happens if they don't do it. And, sacrifice is something that they don't even add into the conversation. So do you want to kind of dive into that?
Yeah. Faith has been a really big part of my life since right after I graduated college. I came to faith in Jesus, and part of that, transitioning away from just wanting to go to medical school and kind of follow that traditional path, it became a path of, how do I improve myself? How do I become a better version of myself? And how do I make an impact in the world that is beyond just, having a good job that pays well? And so part of the entrepreneurial journey is, how do I become the best version of myself, not only for my business, but also for my family, for my community, for my church, learn how to communicate better, learn how to actually put a plan in place, execute on it, and make something happen, make an impact in the world. I think through business, that provides a great way to learn those skills. And then the other part of it is, it kind of transitioned from everything's all about me to, how do I set up a life for myself where I'm not just always consumed with working, which admittedly right now I've been very consumed with growing my business and learning these skills. But the goal is not to always be there. I don't want to 5-10 years from now be meeting people on the weekends, meeting people in the evenings. More importantly, I don't want to be meeting people at last minute's notice. I want to have that ability to make plans and control my schedule to where I can actually have the type of impact in the places, the areas of my life that I want to have that impact. And for me, that's my faith, my family. And that really, I could completely just work a normal job and have impacts like that. And for a lot of people, I think that's a great option. For me personally, I love trying to grow a business. It's what I absolutely love to work on. And, I wake up and I'm excited. Hey, how am I going to get to the next step? And so having that overarching goal, I want to have an impact in these other areas of my life. And I want to create the type of business that doesn't consume my life to where I can have an impact in these other areas. And so for me, YouTube provided a path forward towards that bigger goal. I was looking at cold calling and door knocking, and it was just never going to be able, in my mind, to scale to a level where it would get me out of those day-to-day activities that were holding me back from pursuing other things as well. But what I saw on YouTube is there's so much leverage in it that, you put out videos that people are still watching a year later. I put out, videos a few months ago that are still getting, 100 views a day. And and it just keeps compounding on itself. And so having that leverage, when I understood that, when I saw that, I have all these bigger goals, things that I want to do and have an impact in the world in other areas in addition to business. And I saw how YouTube aligned with that, both through teaching me the skills, forcing me to learn the skills, and providing that leverage to where I could get to that place where I had the time for other things as well.
Yeah, that's so important. And I think, where a lot of people go wrong is they start on this journey like this and they're comparing themselves to other people. But what happens is, over the course of that 8-month journey where you weren't generating any leads, if you don't have clarity on a bigger why, a bigger vision, a bigger purpose, then it's going to be very easy to give up. But when you've got clarity on that, and that's always in the back of your mind, when things get tough, you can kind of pull back and revert to that in order to push you forward. So I really, really love that you kind of speak on that. And, another concept that I'd love to dive into before talking about some of the content strategies in terms of your workflow process, but a lot of people are curious when it comes to YouTube about how you actually convert views into leads. And you've done a really good job, and you can unpack this a bit about turning your channel into, in essence, what is a funnel. And that's a word that really connects with a lot of people because they understand the concept of it, but they don't usually understand the application of it. So do you want to kind of talk to people in depth about how you've created your channel more or less into a lead generation funnel?
Yeah. So there's another way that I've heard people talk about YouTube in this sense, and I'll just throw that out there to start. And that is, at first, you create content, search-based content that people can find you through, and you build an audience that way. And once you have an audience, you can start to create content for your specific audience. But until you have an audience, you have to create content that people will find your channel through. So I heard that and kind of started to think of it, obviously, as a funnel. So what I've done is, my YouTube channel is still pretty new. I actually only started creating the type of content that is working for me back at the beginning of 2023, about 10 months ago or so. And those first videos were, my videos still aren't that good, but the first ones really weren't good at all. It wasn't till 3 or 4 months ago that I started to create kind of decent videos. But even when they weren't good, they were working. And so looking back and hearing, just to give you some context, I've generated about 200 leads over the last 10, 11 months, and that's turned into 13 closed transactions. I've got 2 under contract right now, and then 1 listing, all from YouTube. So around 200 people that I've talked to that have called me. And what I've found is the videos that are viewed the most are high search term videos. So I'll make a video specifically optimized for a search term, and those videos are going to get the most views. If I make the video right, make it engaging, and optimize it for a specific search term that I know people are searching for, those are going to get views. I look at my channel analytics, and that's where my subscribers are coming from. That's where all my watch time is. So those are the top of the funnel. That's what's driving people into my channel. But the people that call me, sometimes people will call me and they'll be like, hey, we just watched one video. Like, they've only ever watched one of my videos. That's great. If they watched one video and call me, I love that. But a lot of people will call me and be like, hey, we've been watching your videos for a few months. They'll reference specific videos, and a lot of the videos they'll reference are videos that have very low views, and they're videos on specific neighborhoods. So those are the bottom of my funnel videos. And at first, I started making those videos and they weren't getting views, so I thought they weren't valuable. But what I found is they're bottom of the funnel videos, meaning that people come in, they search Knoxville, Tennessee, which is one of my markets, and they watch a video I've made on that, and then YouTube feeds them into some other videos on local neighborhoods. And so what I found is that people, the markets, I've got a lot of top of funnel videos on a lot of the markets in my area, because I'm I'm continuing to grow out my channel. But what I found is the markets that I have top of funnel videos and then bottom of funnel videos, meaning specific communities, specific neighborhoods. Those markets I'm getting more calls on because people come in, they watch the search video, and then they go down, they're seeing these neighborhood videos, and they're calling and say, hey, I really like that one neighborhood that you were in, and they're asking specific questions about it. So and I actually just started to understand this a couple months ago. It wasn't until I'd really put out a few dozen videos and started to see this trend. So that's why I'm thinking of it as a funnel now and working to create those search-based videos and then those specific videos for my audience that I've already captured through the search-based videos.
That's awesome. And I think that really lends itself to the concept of not getting caught up in the vanity metrics, because so many people associate views with leads. If it gets a ton of views, it gets the most leads. And almost every single person that I've ever talked to on my channel about YouTube all says the same thing, is that it's the more personalized, niche, specific videos that get the calls. The other videos are just the ones that get people into your ecosystem, and having that blend of content to guide people where you're looking to go. Leaning into that, I'd love to kind of talk about your content creation process. I think it's really cool that you talked about the fact that every market has its own kind of niche. Some people will look at somebody like Suman and say, well, I don't have pre-construction, so I can't do what he does. Well, you shouldn't do what he does. Your market has its own opportunity. But community tours and what you've been able to do with neighborhood vlogs is a really hot topic, because that does work in every market. And the one thing people are always kind of caught up about is, how do you go about actually recording those videos? Are you batching them? Are you picking one at a time? Are you filming in multiple locations? Like, if you're going to do a community tour or a neighborhood vlog, what does the process look like start to finish?
Yeah. Well, first thing I'll say is I love the vlog style videos. They've been instrumental for my channel. I'm just sitting in the living room right now. I don't have a studio set up. I don't have anything because I never record videos at home. Now, in the next couple months, I'm actually planning to get a studio set up and do more of those. But, I started to try to do that at the beginning of this year because I saw a lot of people were just, pros and cons videos, whatever, just sitting in their studio. And I'm like, man, I got to get a studio set up. But I started doing these vlog style videos, and this, just an encouragement to people. You don't need a big setup. I record on my iPhone. I have a iPhone 13 Pro Max. I don't think it really matters whether it's the Pro or whatever. I think pretty much every iPhone is going to work. I still record on my iPhone. I record with just a little selfie stick that extends, a couple feet. It's not even a motorized one. The iPhone has stabilization built into it, really good stabilization built into it. So I literally just pop it in, and I have a little wireless mic that I use for it. But you don't need anything to get out and do the vlog style videos. You don't need the studio setup and all that. So for me, it was almost the easiest way to get started because I didn't have a setup. So I got out there and started doing these videos, and I realized they were working. And my workflow is I will plan a video out. This is what I've learned. I used to just go out and pull out my phone and start walking around and talking. And I found that doesn't quite work as well as actually planning a video out. So there are really a couple different, I'm going to get into my 2 different types of videos I make.
Oh yeah.
So a couple different types of videos. I'll talk about the bottom of the funnel first because they're actually easier to make. The bottom of the funnel, you almost can more get away with just going out into a neighborhood and pulling out your phone and starting to record. If you know your market, there are things you can talk about. So you just hop out of your car, pull out your phone and record for 10 minutes and talk about the different homes being built, maybe show them one of the floor plans or something like that. And that's super easy. And it's people that are already engaged in your channel that are watching those videos. They have really high intent. They want to learn about that. So it doesn't have to be like the most well-polished video. Now for the top of the funnel videos, what I've started doing is really planning them out. And I will literally spend a full 10-hour day recording these videos for a 25 to 30-minute video. And I think it's worth it. It's 4 or 5 hours of planning to where I'm researching a city, taking notes, looking at the map and organizing, hey, I'm going to go here first, here first, here first. Because I'm hitting like 10 to 15 different locations in the video, because it keeps it interesting. It keeps people engaged. Some of these videos are 30 minutes long and they'll have like a 10-minute watch time, which is way better retention than my videos that I don't plan out and I'm kind of just walking around. So half a day of planning, a full day of filming, and then several hours of organizing the content into folders so my editor can edit it. And I've actually got a guy that I've been filming with some now, so he does some of that. But yeah, I mean, it's 2 full days to create one top of funnel video for me.
Yeah, that's I think that goes to show that, a really important concept that I always talk about, which is that if you want full-time outcome or full-time results from any activity, you have to put in full-time effort. And a lot of people are just hoping to, go out there, do some random neighborhood tour, do it in 15 minutes, get a 10-minute video out of it, and suddenly leads are just piling in. But, it takes effort. And I think at the end of the day, your effort and your time is going to go somewhere. Are you going to waste it scrolling on social media, hoping to God a lead falls out of the sky, or are you going to invest it into something that is going to take a bit more effort and make you a little bit more uncomfortable, but will generate you business over time? Before we go any further, one thing that I get asked a lot about, especially when it comes to these community tours, what type of information would you be putting in there, and what's kind of, that process look like? Are you putting in, I know some people that are doing community tours and they're putting in walk scores and bike scores. I know others that are talking more about the properties. Like, what does that look like for you in terms of the actual content and information that you would generally put into a community tour? What are you talking about in those videos?
Yeah. So for the bottom of funnel videos, the kind of information I'm putting in them is specific to people that are trying to buy a home. So it's specific to, what is the challenge for buying a home right here? A lot of the markets where I am are pretty competitive. So what's the challenge? How do you actually find a decent lot with the type of home you want? People are buying homes off market, pre-construction, before they're ever listed. A lot of the builders in my market are local builders. They don't even have a website that you can go to. You can't even go look at their floor plans. So the only way they exist is if you have a relationship with them. So I've leveraged that a lot. I've gotten to know some of the builders and a lot of the agents that they work with. And so with my clients, I will literally get them under contract on a home that was never listed anywhere. Nobody else would ever even know the builder existed. Nobody would have been able to find them. And so that's what I do with my clients. And so that's the kind of information I share in the videos. There's no website you can go to find this stuff. Literally, I'm the only one that is going to be telling you about it on the internet. So for me, it's stuff that is specific information that I know that will legitimately help people. They can't just go look on Google and find it. Now, I will mention a lot of just general terms about the community, but really the point and the focus of the videos is information that's specific that will help people that are looking to buy a home there that they can't find elsewhere.
Well, and I think, go ahead.
And I think the reason that that's worked really well is one, because they're like, oh, this is great information, I'm going to stay engaged in it. But two, because it builds a ton of trust. Mm-hmm. They're like, oh, this guy actually knows what he was talking about. Literally nobody else has told me this.
That's super cool. And I think, just what I was going to say is that this is the big differentiator from agents that generate leads and ones that don't, is being able to position yourself as the industry expert. You know, there's so many people that call themselves real estate professionals or industry experts. And if I was to quiz you on your market as somebody random looking to move there, you probably couldn't answer half or even a fraction of my questions. Whereas when you go through the process of creating a proper video like you are, you're strengthening your skills to be able to communicate with so much more clarity and value than anybody else, to the point where they will build that trust with you. And I think there's the tangible results that you get from YouTube, which is the views, the leads, the subscribers, all of that. But there's the intangible of the communication skills, the information, the value you can bring to your market, the knowledge that you have. And so many people overlook that aspect, which genuinely is probably the most important aspect. So, you know, before diving into improving your content, one quick question that I have, you kind of touched on it, which is that, you know, you've got an editor. What does the post-production look like for you? And what I mean by that is, for anybody that doesn't know, you've got pre-production, which is the planning, you've got the production, which is the recording, and then post-production is what the heck happens after you record. For you, what does it look like when it comes to editing? I think you kind of already alluded to this, but we can dive in again. And then also things like thumbnails, graphic work, that type of stuff.
Yeah, so when I started, I did it all myself. I would record a clip, I would upload it to my computer, and I did very minimal editing. I would like edit my phone number in there and stuff so people could see it. And then I would just upload it. But it would still take me a few hours to like just piece a few clips together and go through all of it. I didn't like doing it at all. So as soon as it was feasible for me, I started handing that off to an editor. What I would do, and it shifted a little bit in the last few weeks, but what I would do for that is I would go record my clips. I would record B-roll. I got a drone a few months back, which is huge. I think if you're getting started, you don't necessarily need to worry about getting a drone. Just pull out your phone and record some stuff. But having drone footage it steps the video up so much. It adds time, but it steps it up a ton. So I started going out and I would record for a day. I would have all this footage from my drone, all this footage recorded of myself from my iPhone, and then a bunch more B-roll recorded from my iPhone. I'd upload it all to my computer, and then I can't just send that all to my editor because it's like 20 clips of me talking and 100 clips of B-roll. He's got no idea what to do with that. So what I had to do was organize it into files. So I create a folder for each clip of me talking, labeled 1, 2, 3, 4, just in sequence of how they should be edited together. And then I would upload the B-roll that should accompany each one of those clips. And then my editor would just open up the folder and know which B-roll went with each section of video. So that worked really well. What I've been doing the last few weeks is one of my goals has been to transition from doing all the production myself to having referral partners. And I've referred out a couple of my deals this year, but I partnered with somebody a few weeks ago who is a new agent in the market. You know, I talked to several people looking for somebody to partner with like this, and I connected with him, and he also does video. And so, you know, just real quick, kind of when I got into this, I was kind of in the mindset, like, I have to have everything planned out. Like, what am I going to be doing in 6 months? That's not the case. I change what I'm doing like every few months completely. But so anyways, I partnered with him and I've been referring him some deals, but he also works in video. He has a background in video and he edits and he enjoys doing all that. So he was like, hey, you're paying an editor to edit. Why don't I just go out and film with you and you pay me to edit it? And so this has been a huge learning curve for me, trying to figure out how to best utilize that relationship, because it's essentially cut down my time from planning a full day recording and then organizing everything. And now that he's recording with me, I can take out all that time of organizing to where I plan, I go record, and then I'm done. because he's been out there recording with me. He knows the sequence of everything. So we'll go out and record for a day. And then instead of me having to go back and spend another few hours organizing everything, it's done. Plus it saves me time recording because he's out there recording B-roll and all that. So it's post-production has shifted for me 3 times now, just in the past 10 months. So I don't think you have to have like a set, like when you start, just start and upload some videos. If you have the money to afford an editor starting out, then I would definitely say use that second step that I used, where I would just organize it into folders and send it off to an editor.
Yeah, I love that. I think that leans perfectly into the next thing that I'd love to kind of unpack is the process of improving over time. Mr. Beast is the greatest to ever do YouTube, and he always talks about the fact that, if you're getting started on your YouTube journey, don't even talk to him until you've put out 100 videos and consciously try to improve every single time after each video. And so many people will come to me and they're like, Mike, I put out 4 videos. What am I doing wrong? It's like, well, what you're doing wrong is that you haven't even gotten started, and I think it's also kind of cool. And the similarity that you and I have is that you and I don't come from a tech background. Like, I was the most anti-social media, anti-video, never getting on camera type of person.
Yeah.
And here I am finding love and enjoyment being in front of the camera, and it feels like my second home. And a lot of people kind of see where we're at today and just assume that this is like a gift that we have that other people don't. So do you want to talk about just the journey, how you're improving over time, the evolution, and the importance of just getting started with what you have today?
Yeah. I don't think that you can learn any other way than just doing it, first of all. So there's no point in not starting. I also have a belief that the YouTube space is going to continue to get more and more competitive. I don't think that should discourage people from starting, by the way. I think you just have to start and make a bunch of really bad videos and learn what you're doing. So, I mean, I've actually disabled the first 4 months of videos I made on my channel because people kept watching them, and I'm like, these aren't the videos I want people to keep watching. And my views actually bumped up a little bit when I disabled all those videos. So anyways, unfortunately you can't go back and see how bad those ones were. But even if you go back 8 months and see my videos, they're pretty bad. Yeah. So just get started and you'll learn along the way. But the way I look at it is my videos right now, I hope I look back on them in 6 months and think those are pretty bad. And I think that I think you almost have to have that mindset in order to stay competitive with where YouTube is going. As you mentioned, it should be treated as a full-time position. There are teams around the country that are sustaining like 5, 10, 15 person teams exclusively off one person generating YouTube content. That's a big team. That's way more than just a full-time job. Like, that's the kind of power that marketing through YouTube has. And so I think it's worth it to treat it as a full-time job. And I think you have to continue to try to improve, or you're just going to fall behind what other people are doing. So that's kind of my mindset behind it. I can get into a little bit about how I'm trying to do that tactically if you want to.
I'd love for you to do that because, similar to you, I've unlisted some of the early videos from my YouTube channel, honestly, just because they were local market specific and I no longer have to do that. But you can go back and filter my videos by oldest and feel free to, get a bag of popcorn out and laugh because they're a joke. Like, and my videos last year, like you're alluding to, and even right now, I don't even have my studio set up. And I know that when I get my new one set up in 2 weeks from now, it's going to look night and day different. And I think that's so important, is to fall in love with the journey and to be able to get excited about that process of looking back and seeing how much you've grown, because it really is eye-opening. But yeah, let's talk for a second about what you're tactically doing in order to improve your content.
Yeah. So I think that one of the biggest things is my own ability to communicate. And I mentioned I brought this guy on as a referral partner, but we've been working together, filming together. And one of the things that's happened when we go out and film for a day together versus I just go out by myself is it makes me really focus on, hey, I'm using up this guy's time too. I'm using more of my resources. What am I doing out here to make it worth it? And so it's really made me focus on one of the biggest things that I can do to improve is just becoming better at communicating and presenting content, to where maybe 30 minutes worth of clips used to be cut down from 3 hours worth of recording that I messed up. I want to do it over, whatever. How do I cut that down? So one big part of it is just becoming better at communicating myself. The other big part of it is creating a better video experience. So, well, I guess there are a couple parts to the video experience. So as I become better at communicating, that's one big part. And then the video production is another big part. So the way that I package the video, I think, is really important, meaning title, thumbnail, and then how I introduce the information to start with, which would be referred to as the hook. That kind of packages it and lets people know, am I interested in this? Is this actually what I'm looking for? Is it going to give me the information that I want right now? And it gives them a better understanding going through the video of what they're actually learning. So just the framework around the entire video, getting better at creating that, and then getting better at filming the actual videography, because you can build such a successful business on YouTube. There are more and more people getting on YouTube and putting effort into it. And so a couple years ago, if you search Knoxville, Tennessee, which is one of my markets, there were only a few really bad videos. So you didn't really have that much choice to choose from. But in the future, there's going to be some really good, highly produced videos. They've all got good information. Even the poorly produced videos had good information. But now you have videos with good information and good videography that are entertaining. They have cool drone footage. And so which one are you going to watch? Are you going to watch the boring one that has good information, or are you going to watch the one with the same information, but it captures your attention? It lets you see all this cool stuff. So that's really the third area that I'm working on, is how do I make it? I don't want it to be like a movie production, because I think that almost turns people off a little bit. They feel like they're watching an advertisement. So I don't want it to be a movie production in that sense at all. I want it to be still a vlog style, but I want it to have interesting camera shots. I want it to have a ton of B-roll. So a few months ago, it may have been two clips of B-roll for every, 2 5-second clips of B-roll for every 20 seconds of video. And now it's like 5 or 6 clips of B-roll for every 20 seconds of video. So we're essentially tripling the amount of B-roll that we're capturing and putting in. And it takes time. And I mean, it takes time to record it. It takes more time to edit it. But those videos are still going to be up there in 2 years. And right now, I think they're some of the best videos on the markets they're in, just with the information and the production, even though, I mean, they're not that good, but they'll continue to get better. But those videos are still going to be up there in 2 years. And there's going to be other good videos up there in 2 years from other agents. And I don't want my videos to be completely obsolete in a couple of years because everybody else is making good videos and I'm not. So I think you got to treat it like it's a full-time job because it is so powerful, like you mentioned.
Yeah, definitely. And it's all a part of the process because, you know, even looking at what you talked about in terms of your production kind of sequence changing 3 times over the last 10 months, you know, I completely overhaul and change my entire studio, entire setup every single year. And I'm always looking and improving. And, you know, where you're at right now is not where you got started. I think it's so important for people to see that, you know, you got started and so use an iPhone doing everything yourself. I got started
Yeah.
using a GoPro Hero 4 from like 2010, and I did everything myself. And I think that's so
Yeah.
important for people to see that you can't compare, you know, your chapter 1 to somebody else's chapter 5 or 20, because they had to get started as well. So, you know, the last thing that I always like to pull this together with is obviously now you and I are partners. And a lot of people are always curious as to, you know, why you decided to join not only EXP, but specifically the Wolf Pack, and what people can expect when deciding to partner with both you and myself.
I think for me, it was two things. One, having the access to the training, but two, probably more importantly, is just being in the atmosphere and community with other people that are trying to do the same thing. I think it's hard to understand if you're before you get in a group like that, how important that is to be kind of alongside other people that are trying to do the same thing. I'd say those are the two biggest things for me. I'll tell you a story. I'm working on expanding my business to the Middle Tennessee market. I'm in East Tennessee. Nashville is the biggest city in Tennessee. It's the fastest growing by far. So I'm working on expanding my business to Middle Tennessee. There's another agent in the group. His name's John, and I've talked to John several times. And anyways, I went to Middle Tennessee the other day, which is where he is, and was like, "Hey man, you want to meet up for dinner?" So I met up with him and his fiance, and it was like getting to sit down with him and connect with him, hear his stories. He's got a great YouTube channel in Middle Tennessee.
Oh yeah.
And, you know, just called him that morning, sat down with him that evening for dinner, and was just able to connect with him. And it was just so encouraging to hear what he's doing, hear how it's been successful for him, and just being in that group of people that are kind of walking along the same path is just, it's fun. And it also helps you get to where you're trying to go.
100%, man. Well, again, it's a complete honor to be on this journey together, and that's the exciting part about this opportunity is that, you know, people can align with both you, Suman, and myself, and get, you know, 3 all-in full-time content creators, helping them be able to launch and scale their channel based on our experience. And I think heading into, you know, these next couple of years, it's not going to get any easier if people don't make a big significant change. But in order to make that change, you need the proper blueprint, the guidance, and like you alluded to, the community, because rising tides lifts all ships. And so many times we find agents who are the only one out of their office of 50 to 100, and you know, they're the only ones putting out content. It's pretty difficult to stay motivated when everybody else is either not doing it, telling you it's stupid, or telling you it doesn't work. You know, so I think
especially
it's
if you're going to go 8 months without doing a deal, you know, start to get pretty discouraged.
Yeah, man. Well, again, thank you so much for us. You know, I think your story is absolutely incredible, and you've shared a wealth of knowledge here. And as always, guys, I'm going to make sure to include and link all of Fortis' incredible content below, as well as a calendar link to book a private call with him if you would like to talk about getting our help with your journey on YouTube. So thanks again, man, for coming on and sharing all the value today.
Yeah, thanks, Mike.
Awesome, guys. Well, again, please make sure to like, comment, subscribe. We'll see you in the next video.